the quarter-finals.
The semifinals and the World Championship. Who from the final two players between Bunnyhoppor and Turna will join them for a right to call themselves a summer champion and a guaranteed invite for the 2018 Year of the Raven World Championship. Kibler, it's been a fun day so far, but we're just really getting started here with how everything ramps up, because this is the halfway point of how the day will play out.
Yeah, it's not the halfway point for these players. It's been a long road for them to get there, but now just the single match that stands between them and the World Championship.
All right, so let's go ahead and introduce our players for our last quarterfinal. The first player coming from Germany, trying to follow up fellow German performance in Viper, is Bunnyhoppor. His opponent from Italy, looking to put his country back on the map since 2014. Please welcome to the stage, Turna.
It feels great, of course. It feels great because I wasn't favored, and I win that game in the small pool of the winnable games, so I'm really happy. Yes, I'm really happy.
Bunnyhoppor should be able to close it out with this. 3-1, and Bunnyhoppor has booked his ticket to the quarterfinals.
Amazing. I was super scared of this group. I felt like I didn't have the best lineup for the group, but a good lineup overall, and so I'm like super happy to make it out.
Well, I know that the other 3 European players are very good, so there's no surprise. I think all the 16 players in the championship are good, because if you reach this point, you must be good, right?
I think it just seems to be kind of the theme of my lineup, that the way that it's built, I have some like strong points and some weaknesses, but if I get the correct matchups, I feel very good. If he gets the correct matchups, he probably feels very good.
Ok ragazzi, ce l'ho fatta passare i gruppi, ora ci vuole un'altra vittoria contro Bunnyhoppor, la prossima, giusto un'altra partita ci vuole e si va ai mondiali.
Up next, Bunnyhoppor versus Turna.
As we glaze over a wonderful crowd, joined by fans around the world, by Blizzard devs, including arena specialist Chucky Gill, who recently joined Blizzard development team. And also, of course, these two players with Turna versus Bunnyhoppor coming up for you on stream. Now, I want to bring up something, Kill, before we get started. Turna has the same exact lineup as Killin' All Day, who not only made it to the top 4, but also played Bunnyhoppor for his qualifying match to the top 8. So it's essentially another chance for Bunnyhoppor to prove that his lineup can take on this aggressive strategy.
Though we heard from Bunnyhoppor himself in that interview, he felt like he didn't have a great lineup for his group, and that he felt like he was pretty fortunate to make his way past Killin' All Day. So this should be a tough matchup for him to get by Turna.
That's right. You see the bans, pretty straightforward. Even Warlock, one of the best decks at killing some of these token-based strategies with cards like Defile. That's going to be banned away. And then, of course, Token Druid, one of the hardest decks for these control decks to clear. So that is a very logical ban. The first matchup we'll have is Big Spell Mage versus Odd Paladin. This is a matchup that the more I watch the Odd Paladin play, the more experienced they are on the deck, the more I'm afraid from the Mage. Traditionally, I feel like I'm invincible with so many AoEs in the deck with Frostlich Jaina. But Kibler, I mean, people are even debating, I mean, Admiral was debating me whether or not you keep Frostlich Jaina in this matchup.
It is a very interesting matchup, because you think about, okay, I'm playing a controlling mage deck. I have all kinds of ways to sweep your board. But the problem is that you sweep your opponent's board, but they don't have to do very much to just rebuild that board. And often, thanks to Level Up and Fungalmancer, they're in positions where they almost have to clear your board before you commit any real resources. And that's what the real threat of the Odd Paladin is. Just using your hero power over and over generates the potential for these lethal strikes that you don't have to commit the cards first.
Look at that, Bunnyhoppor throwing away the Death Knight. People often joke about Big Spell Mage being as a deck of Frostlich Jaina and 29 other cards, but Bunnyhoppor throwing it away against a deck shows recognition that he needs to get onto the board much faster. Cards like Stonehill Defender, even though it's traditionally not a very good curve play, is actually one of the best things you can do early on. along with the other tools in Big Spell Mage's disposal.
Yeah, you really need to have things to do in your early turns that are better than ping off a guy, because your opponent is not making one guy, they're making two guys every turn, and you're falling behind. So the expensive threats are horrible for Bunnyhoppor in this matchup, and the expensive removal is not that much better, simply because you need to do something to deal with your opponent's early offense, even before they just have that sort of inevitability of two dudes every turn.
Speaking of two dudes, a turn, Odd Paladin traditionally has one to get onto the board so fast to the point where they coin out 2 1-mana minions if possible. So Turna has Righteous Protector and Firefly. Looks like he's going to take it extra slow with just a Righteous Protector here. Doesn't want to overextend to things like the Raven Familiar.
Whatever does have the Familiar that he can drop down here, which along with his hero power can threaten some of Turna's minions, but that's a mana exchange that goes very poorly for Bunnyhoppor. If he's using 2 mana this turn, 3 mana next turn, and all he's doing is killing a 1-drop, that's pretty bad. So, he needs to find those AoEs. Specifically, Dragon's Fury is the best, simply because it's the cheapest, to allow him to bridge to the late game. But as we mentioned with Turna, he just needs to keep using his hero power. This is actually kind of a scare spot for Bunnyhoppor with the level up. He could have hit a Polymorph, which would actually have prevented him from drawing a card from that Raven Familiar.
Yeah, that's always something you're afraid of, but I mean, that's kind of what the deck is built to do. You generally have to play this Raven Familiar on curve to get the spells out of your deck, and then utilize that body to fight back early, so that way your hero power plus the minion body should be good enough. In the meantime, I'm looking at some of those tech cards. I wonder if they can make any impact. We have double Void Ripper from Turna's deck list, which does tend to be different from other decks.
Void Ripper has become a much more common inclusion in these decks. You see it not only in Odd Paladin, but often in Odd Rogue, simply because it gives you the ability to answer Doomsayer extremely efficiently, and against other decks, it's actually also very good against Spreading Plague. Rather than them essentially wrathing your entire board of 1/1s, you just get to play your Void Ripper and trade everything into what become 5/1s.
It's true.
For this matchup, Doomsayer is the real target.
Another really key card in this matchup is that Arcane Artificer. We've seen some Mage players very early on drop it for early tempo and also to answer the 1/1s efficiently. But starting from turn 3 onwards, you feel like the Artificer can get sniped so easily through things like weapons, any kind of small buffs. So I think it's too late for a window for Bunnyhoppor to drop this. And of course, it scales much better in the late game. If you're able to freeze the board, your opponent can't answer it, you'll be able to double dip.
Right. And here is where things start to get a little bit scary for Bunnyhoppor because of the threat of even the coin level up. For instance, Turna can hero power here, trade in his Righteous Protector, and play, say, Firefly. Right. And then there's the threat of, okay, well, you can just coin level up and make 9 power for next turn if Bunnyhoppor chooses to, say, deploy a Keysmith.
Right. And that's where Keysmith could be very valuable, and perhaps maybe why Turna wants to hold on to that coin, so he can capitalize on all of his arsenal of spells. I don't think placing an extra 1/2 with the Flame Elemental is anything special. So Bunnyhoppor, action back over to him, picks up a Dragon's Fury. That is a really important checkpoint of this matchup on turn 5.
It is, though the Dragon's Fury can potentially run into, I believe the Purifier's Maul is a Divine Shield weapon.
Correct.
So Turna does not have to commit to his next turn. If he is able to just develop a wide board with a Purifier's Maul, that is incredibly devastating against the damage-based AoE from the controlling Mage deck.
That's right.
Need a key?
All right, there is the Ice Barrier, Mirror Entity, Vaporize. Barrier is almost certainly going to be Bunnyhoppor's pick. Mirror Entity and Vaporize are both extremely weak against the small minion-based strategy that Turn is playing.
Yeah, much better against, say, Mountain Giants than they are against token-based 1/1s. Now, Turna, will he set up the Purifier's Maul this turn? First has to test the secret to make sure he knows everything about it.
He has a couple of options here. He can Coin, which tests for Counterspell. And then, if it's not Counterspell, he can actually just Hero Power and play Purifier's Maul. So what that does is set up 5 of the 1/1s, which gives him 5 Divine Shielded 1/1s that are going to be buffed by level up next turn. So there was no counterspell, so he knows that level up isn't clear. Uses the weapon to take this down. Now he can push the damage with these minions, and he's guaranteed a level up that will not really just be able to be AoE'd.
That's right.
Bunnyhoppor may even just need to pull the trigger on the Dragon's Fury just to clear the Divine Shields here.
His only other play involves Gluttonous Ooze, which isn't exactly something to write home about.
I mean, he needs to get rid of the Divine Shields across these minions and then kill them with another AoE. It's obviously not a particularly great opportunity for him to do that because he's not actually, he's just getting rid of these. There's no buff in them yet, but he is certainly afraid of the threat of level up. Level up means 15 damage just from those minions next turn.
That's right, and Turna's kept that card for the entire game. And Odd Paladin wants to get on the board super fast. So if it's not a level up, that is almost certainly a Vine Cleaver. And that's probably something going on through Bunnyhoppor's mind right now.
And so if Bunnyhoppor were, say, to wait, say he played Gluttonous King this turn, then he cuts off the possibility of drawing a second Dragon's Fury next turn and having it be able to resolve. By playing Dragon's Fury this turn, he can draw Dragon's Fury next turn, which can clear a board of leveled up minions. He could also potentially draw a Blizzard, though that works out the same way since he's playing it into a Flame Strike.
I think I like this a little bit better. It's less committal, gives you Arcane Artificial Dragon's Fury as a Hail Mary. You know level up's a big threat. And we'll see how Turna chooses. I don't think he'll necessarily want to trade with any of the minions with Divine Shield. Should be okay with him trading in one without Divine Shield in here.
I think it's just a matter of what it looks like his damage is, and I think you get that with Leroy plus Blessing of Might in here. There's no real desire for him to actually keep these across multiple turns. He just needs to get like one more crack in, and then he has 9 burst in hand. Now, Bunnyhoppor can play, Arcane Artificer into Dragon's Fury here, which will kill 2 of the 3/3s, gain him 5 life, so leave just the 3 of the 3/3s and the Firefly left on the board. But that's still 10 damage there, gaining 5. He will survive. So there's no Blessing of Might Leroy kill available to him if Bunnyhoppor goes for that line of play. And there's the window to potentially Flame Strike the following turn.
Yes, that's assuming Turna does not have another level up or another Purifier's Maul, which would be super devastating. If Bunnyhoppor just pulls a Dragon's Fury, though, that means he dies.
He does. He absolutely has to pair it with the Arcane Artificer, and I believe he knows that. So he's going to get the 5 life here. Exactly the play that we predicted, leaving 10 power with 22 life.
And very clear Blizzard is not in the hand because Bunnyhoppor would have easily pulled the trigger.
Fungalmancer, that gets 2 minions out of range of Flame Strike and pushes 4 additional damage.
9, 10, 14. Oh, man. 14 when you know your opponent does not have the Blizzard.
Yeah, I think this game is essentially over at this point. Bunnyhoppor is going to take 14, even if he draws the other Dragon's Fury to clear off the board, because Flame Strike is just not enough. There's Leroy plus Blessing of Might waiting. Turna could even play an Argent Squire between some of these minions to make a Meteor worse. There could be the possibility of an Arcane Artificer into Meteor that mitigates some of this damage and gets Bunnyhoppor some armor, but I still don't even think that would be enough to beat the Leroy plus Blessing of Might.
Yeah, Turna is thinking about the only possibility of Bunnyhoppor stopping him, which would be Arcane Artificer number 2 and the Blizzard that he knows is not in Bunnyhopper's hand. So he's saying, if there's an opportunity to play around that stuff, I will. And also separating his threats, trying to make Meteor worse as well. But no matter how you cut it, Bunnyhoppor looks dead to me. Second Arcane Artificer.
Okay, well, this into Meteor does clear the 5. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Turna chose to use the Blessing of Might like this, because this actually makes the board more vulnerable to Meteor. He may still just win, because he Meteors the 5/5, kills the 6/3 and the Fungalmancer, leaving 6 on board. Leroy still just kills him, so doesn't actually matter.
What to do?
So you'd rather him tag onto the Firefly on the farther end?
Well, I probably, I mean, it's you know, two ways to, as Admiral would say, what is it? 2 ways to El Dorado or whatever it is.
All roads lead to El Dorado.
I don't know. This is an admirableism. I don't really care what the actual aphorism is. But
I'm just surprised you registered the stuff he said comes out of his mouth, man. But that's going to do it for game number 1. Turna able to win Odd Paladin versus Big Spell Mage, and perhaps once again put another convincing argument for whether or not this is actually what people say it is. People say that the Big Spell Mage is great against aggressive decks. Odd Paladin is considered one of the most aggressive decks in the meta, and yet we see time and time again these Odd Paladins putting in work.
And that game, you know, the key I think was that Purifier's Maul that Turna was able to set up and protect his first wave of buffed minions the level up. The Divine Shield just prevented Dragon's Fury from clearing his board, and from then on, just able to push so much damage against Bunnyhoppor.
All right, so that's the first game in the books here. Odd Paladin getting a crucial victory for Turna as we get ready for game number 2. When we come back, we're going to find out what happens and develops with this last quarterfinal here in the Hearthstone Championship Tour Summer Championship.
Thanks for cheering me on. I don't know, what do people usually say during this? I'm Bunnyhoppor. I'm from Germany and I currently live in Oslo, Norway. I like playing Hearthstone firstly because I've loved playing games since I was a child. It really appealed to me that you can build your deck, you can make your strategy, and then on the other hand, I'm also just a competitive person. I don't know if I approach the tournaments and lineup building and things like this scientifically, but I definitely love to just write down all my ideas, and usually when I prepare lineups for tournaments, I'll take out a college block and I'll just write several pages with lineups and tech cards and just random arrows on what is good against what. In terms of preparation for this tournament, I prepared again with Casey and Viper, and we've been a training group for over a year now, and we've prepared closely together. And it's been quite successful with all of us having good scores, and Casey making top 16 twice.
Most of the tournament is played before the deck lists are sent. I think it's a game all about preparation. I thought that a lot of players will have brought some anti-control decks, like Recruit Hunter or Miracle Rogue. Paladin was a good choice if you see all the 16 players. Unfortunately for me, my group is tough. I faced 2 players with Control Priest. I don't think that is going to be a great deck in this tournament, but against me, it's going to perform well. If we are going to play 100 times, they're going to win the most of the time because their lineups are favored against mine. But in the single match, everything can happen. I think I'm pretty good in making good lineups in tournaments. Killing All Day has the same lineup as mine, but his group is all playing Miracle Rogue and anti-control decks, and he's going to farm them. So I'm proud of my lineup, and I think I made good choices.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Summer Championship, live from Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, California. We're in the middle of a series between Bunnyhoppor and Turna. I want to bring out a couple of facts from this past weekend. Turna has played against Big Spell Mage 3 times with Odd Paladin, and he's won every single time. It seems like he knows something or two about the matchup. And then something to note, we talked about how Bunnyhoppor went up against Killin' All Day, who have a very similar lineup, but Killin' All Day banned the Mage, even though despite bringing very similar decks. So we'll see if that ends up being a difference maker in this best 5, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, and I think that we heard Turna talk just now about how this event, a lot of it takes place before you even get here. It's about the preparation. And I really think this tournament has kind of been a tale of 2 lineups. We have Bunnyhoppor, who played the exact same 120 cards as Viper. Viper's already qualified. Bunnyhoppor is here in the quarterfinals. And then Turna did not prepare with Killin' All Day, but playing from an archetype perspective, the same lineup. And Killin' All Day already through. They are the only 2 players on each of those 2 lineups, and they are all in the quarterfinals or have advanced so far.
That's right, and even Warlock could be an awkward deck to go up against Miracle Rogue, Big Spell Mage. We've seen Shutterwalk Shamans put in a lot of work, even if even Warlock is favored in stats. So you got to be really careful about it. And the fact that Turna banned away the Warlock means that potentially one of his better matchups in the head-to-head gives him less outs for this deck. So this is the key matchup to watch here. Can Turna get big wins with his Even Warlock?
Yeah, we have seen the Even Warlock deck be the one that has struggled. I believe it was actually Killin' All Day failed to get his Warlock through before against Bunnyhoppor. And that is clearly a issue that could come up for Turna as well.
More specifically, Bunnyhoppor was able to beat the Warlock 3 times against Glory, as an example. So Warlock is a class that he's well prepared for in every scenario. Most people are trying to kill 2 decks here, which is Taunt Druid and even Warlock or some kind of Warlock, and it's been very successful so far.
And interestingly, the lineup that Bunnyhoppor and Viper chose to play is one of the few in the entire event that excluded Druid. Taunt Druid was one of the most popular decks in the entire field. They have instead built their lineup to prey upon it. Unfortunately for Bunnyhoppor, Turna's Druid is token, and that's why he decided to ban it rather than try and beat it.
Yeah, but having like a soft splash effect on the Warlock is also a nice touch.
Absolutely. Turna does not have Giant yet. This is actually a pretty messy hand for Turna. He has neither Giant nor a Twilight Break, so he's going to go ahead and Doomsayer. This, interestingly, this denies a Doomsayer from Bunnyhoppor if you were to want to play his own.
Right.
Which is something that could delay Turna's development. That may sound silly, Doomsayer to deny Doomsayer, but it's a very real thing because it would be something that stunts his own development in terms of being able to get his minions on the board. That said, he has 2 Spellbreakers, which would be pretty good against Doomsayer.
Yeah, this is scary if Bunnyhoppor didn't have like Voodoo Doll or a Polymorph to answer the first Mountain Giant, because you get the Doomsayer ahead of time so you can develop. But Turna's best turn 4 play right now seems like 2 2-drops. So I'm not looking like, it's not really looking like Turna's going to be able to seize a big advantage.
Yeah, it does free up room in Turna's hand to life tap, which is another important element of this matchup, because not only do you want to dig into your deck for your more powerful cards, but you also want to get your life total low so you can play Hooked Reaver since your opponent isn't damaging themselves. Yeah. Yeah, double 2-drop is the play for Turna here. He wants to get something going.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with this necessarily, because you want to free up your hand as the game goes on to life tap more. The only downside is if Mountain Giant happen to be 2 cards, or Twilight Drake or something like that, it gives you less flexibility of how you're going to be labeling out your plays. So you usually want to life tap a little bit preemptively so you can get more cards. However, Turna also recognizes that getting these less impactful cards is also pretty crucial.
One of the key things with the even and odd decks in general is figuring out how you're going to take advantage of your hero power. That generally means for the even decks, you want to play 4 mana worth of stuff on 4, and then 4 mana worth of stuff and life tap on 5. That's just how things line up. So it's important to get the cards out of his hand as well as just use his resources so he can line up with the most efficient things his deck does.
Yeah, and Bunnyhoppor, of course, speaking of getting things out of his hand, he's got a really clogged up state of hand right now. He's got basically 1 minion a turn that he can play at most, and things like Skulking Guys are not impactful whatsoever in this matchup.
There's a giant, and the life tap for 1 enables him to draw a card and play it this turn.
Works really well. It does happen to line up into a turn 5, which is where it's very convenient for the Mage to mix and match his removal pieces, whether it's Polymorph, whether it's Voodoo Doll, whether it's Meteor with a coin.
You'd much rather have your threats start earlier because once you get rolling in the later turns against Big Spell Mage, they have so much removal. And really, ultimately, ended up being, can they actually get to their Jaina? And Bunnyhoppor already has Jaina, so he has quite a bit of removal, with a Meteor, a Polymorph, lots of things for big minions, as well as a Dragon's Fury, lots of things that can clear the medium-sized minions. So it really feels like Bunnyhoppor's in a great spot already.
Yeah, he's got so much of his tools, like you mentioned. Of course, in Bunnyhoppor's mind, he's thinking about how greedy he can get because he doesn't want to be stuck in a position where his opponent layers the threats turn after turn. Yeah, so Meteor is less flexible than Polymorph. Kind of like it. No attack, just in case Turna wants to use cards like Defile and weaken his own board. Also gives a potential bad attack from Turna, because Turna's going to want to hit face as much as he can.
Coining out the Meteor there is obviously efficient for removing the board. It does mean Bunnyhoppor no longer has access to coin Jaina, which allows him to actually seize the initiative in the matchup much sooner. So it may seem like it is the best thing now, but this matchup can be very much about long-term planning as well. So we'll see if that coin ends up being something Bunnyhoppor misses down the line. There is, of course, the fact that Polymorph has dual value here, not only dealing with large minions, but also preventing demons from coming back with Gul'dan. So that is certainly something that's likely on his mind as well.
Turna hovering over Sunfury Protector, implying he wants to go wider onto the board right now. I am a little bit intrigued by him not life tapping this turn, but if I look at the mana costs, most Bunnyhoppor can do this board is Blizzard or Meteor, so this is not very weak to the Flame Strike right now.
There is Dragon's Fury, but you're always, you're rarely going to be able to have a board that's good against Dragon's Fury. This puts a board that is largely 4 health minions into the turn before the Flame Strike. So likely the best opportunity Turna will have to force removal out of Bunnyhoppor or get value out of these minions.
Yeah, the only reason why I say that is because Turna doesn't exactly have a very good turn or 2 or 3 turns from now. His best line of play is actually setting up a good Blood Reaver Gul'dan as fast as possible, and that's not very promising considering that he only has a Vulgar Homunculus that would have died by then.
Yeah, and we see a couple of things here. One, the Shroom Brewer from Turna on his Vulgar Homunculus, and then 2, the fact that Bunnyhoppor did not attack meant that Shroom Brewer got less value. And you might imagine, oh, well, he'd just kill it otherwise. But Turna clearly doesn't want to use his healing on himself, so getting the most value off of that on the Homunculus ends up actually working out pretty well, but dies anyway to the Dragon's Fury hitting on Blizzard.
Well, Turna gonna see what's behind the life tab. And Greymane is a decently stat minion, survives things like Flame Strike. Just annoying enough that Bunnyhoppor might be tempted to use removal on it.
Let's look at a turn where Bunnyhoppor can actually just play out his own stuff.
Yeah, 7 mana seems pretty nice to divide between Arcane Artificer and Stonehill Defender. Could end up seeing what comes out of either of those minions discovers first prior to committing to the other one.
Yeah, the Keysmith here actually has a lot of solid things that can hit. There's the possibility for Mirror, Counterspell, Mana Bind, Ice Barrier. Even just Vaporize is actually pretty good in this matchup because most of the minions tend to be pretty large. I would expect, based on this, Counterspell's not that great in this matchup because there are a number of cheap spells like Defile that your opponent is going to have to potentially break your Counterspell, but it is a reasonable tempo option to make your opponent's plays awkward.
You force your opponent to
Lich King. Ooh, interesting. Lich King is clearly the most powerful of these cards, but Bunnyhoppor's hand is full of powerful cards, and he may be more interested in having something he can play cheaply. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and take the Sunwalker here because he doesn't want to be forced to use all of his mana on a single threat.
That's right. If the Lich King gets removed very very easily, then Bunnyhoppor will be full committed to mana. Things like Sunwalker give him the ability to utilize Polymorph in the late stages of the game, or just generally be more flexible to adapt to the situation. And also, in the end, Bunnyhopper's goal isn't necessarily to try to overwhelm and kill people with Lich King cards. He's actually just trying to remove everything possible and wait for turn to leave the game.
Yeah, he has no need to have things that give him more win conditions. He has, in fact, if anything, too many big expensive cards that aim to win the game. So something that he can play more efficiently, that can defend him, that's a stronger pick in Bunnyhoppor's mind, and I agree.
Yep, that's strong recognition of what is important in this matchup. A lot of people, myself included, be tempted to take the Lich King. And, you know, Turna being able to get underneath 15 and activate Spellstone is pretty good timing on this Homunculus, but...
Well, Flame Strike here from Bunnyhoppor. He can use the silenced Stonehill to kill off Gen, and now that Turna is already low, he can actually just push for damage.
It's true. You can push damage since they're already committed to the Homunculus anyways, and most likely will play it before healing back up out of range. Is there any alternative besides the Flame Strike? I guess you could Flame Strike with the Artificer if you just want to add a little more mana efficiency to the play.
I think that you're definitely looking to play the Artificer if you are Flame Striking, simply because it's the biggest spell in your deck. You're not going to get more armor from that, and getting the body on the board is something that your opponent's forced to deal with or potentially give you even more armor, and that's especially powerful when you're clearing off the board. Interesting. Okay, so here, Bunnyhoppor would prefer having the health. This makes his board better against a Hellfire by having a 1/4. I'm a little curious about this because the 2-power minion, of course, helps trade better into opposing minions.
Yeah, but it is more vulnerable to those AoE wipes, and by Hellfiring, he leaves a 1-health minion, so when he plays Fraudulent Jaina, he has the access.
That's actually very interesting.
To create a Water Elemental.
Right,
So it's an interesting setup that forces Turna into a very poor position, unless Turna's willing to commit something like Doomsayer to try and follow up on Bunnyhoppor's Frostlich Jaina.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting play from Bunnyhoppor that was not my initial instinct, but does recognize, okay, well, my opponent hasn't played a Hellfire. He's drawn a ton of cards, very likely has Hellfire, and ends up with a 1/1 in play that he wouldn't otherwise have.
He's going to kill himself at this point, but he does have a Spellstone to deal with one Water Elemental, and more importantly, he has Blood Reaver Goldan to follow up his Doomsayer.
He does, though. Bunnyhoppor is going to get a free 9-mana turn into this Doomsayer, which means that he can just play Frostlich Jaina. His Water Elemental will be sent to its death, but it will allow him to start turning things around by creating Water Elementals with his Polymorphs and Voodoo Dolls.
Yeah, I think Bunnyhoppor would be very comfortable with that. Does have ways to also punt by, let's say, play Raven Familiar and pass and react to what Turna does.
I think that you have 9 mana, you can play Jaina. You want to play Jaina. It's just so powerful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we kind of was talking about how Jaina wasn't super important in the previous matchup, but in this matchup, it is the card you're looking for.
And now, not only does your opponent have to continually present threats, but if their threats are dealt with a huge range of your cards, Polymorph, Voodoo Doll, often damage-based removal plus ping, you now have to deal with that. Look at Turna's at 7. Bunnyhoppor has not yet attacked. Turna is at 7. It does not take very many Water Elemental hits to kill him.
He did 1 damage with his Stonehill Defender.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
The 22 other was self-inflicted. Turna going for the maximum possible tempo based off what his hand is, because Blood Reaver Goldan again summons back barely anything.
Ooh, and Syndragosa is so powerful once you are Frostless Jaina. And right now, because Bunnyhoppor has defended himself so well, Turna had such a slow opening. But Bunnyhopper's over 30 life. He can just take an offensive posture here if he wants. He even has Dragon Caller Alana to actually just try and create a swarm of dragons if he wants.
That's right. Syndragosa does seem pretty hard to pass up because your opponent still has to deal with it. You represent lethal, you create Water Elemental, and you also continue to have resources in your hand pending on whatever comes out of the Frozen Champion.
Yeah, I believe Bunnyhopper's actually only played, what is it, a Meteor, a Dragon's Fury, and a Flame Strike. I think he gets 3 dragons from
Alana. Okay.
Going for it. 3 dragons, right. So, I mean, this is a window where it's tough for Turna to, he has to answer this, clearly. It's tough for him to deal with this efficiently. It's going to require multiple cards.
Huh. Well, let's see. He has Defile and Spellstone. So that answers most of the board, just right there.
Right. There's no way for him to set up a just board clear with 2 Defiles, is there?
Let's see.
If he attacks into a dragon, attacks into... Nah, I don't see a way for him to get a 2 health minion. I guess double Defile. Attack here, Defile. Yeah, I think Defile, attack does not... It still doesn't quite clear, right? Because there's a 1, then there's just a 2. There's no additional 1.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is find a way to cleanly use maybe only 1 Defile and Spellstone, or just the double Defile, not half the Spellstone. But it seems like Turna will have to at least commit a significant amount of the mana to remove here and not actually develop that anything significant.
Actually, he's not even going for clearing these 2 dragons. He's just trying to push. All right.
I mean, Bunnyhoppor is actually really close to killing his opponent as well.
He is, yeah.
Because of the Baron getting dealing 2 damage. Whew. But I mean, if you're at 1, you still have a shot to win the game. So Turna trying to play as close to Knife's Edge as possible. But we all know that this feels like a foregone conclusion because of Bunnyhoppor's hand.
I must decide.
Raven Familiar has a high chance of drawing AoE.
Ooh, Meteor, that is kill a guy and make a water elemental. If he chooses to use it on the Skulking Geist. Still has a polymorph in his hand too.
I mean, Meteor plus trade hero power seems very good in this position. Although it does set up for a pretty easy Defile to clear off most of your minions.
Kind of like just Meteor hero power tend you. He's at 30.
Okay. That is also a good point. You played Dragon Caller Lana. That's one of your big counter offenses.
And this is what Bunnyhoppor agrees. He is going 10 to the face. Dragons aren't for trading. They are for smorking.
1, 2, 3. Is there 4 health? There is 4, 5, 6. That's 1 trade with the Twilight Drake should mean a Defile.
I believe that's correct.
6 minions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
Math doesn't lie.
You gotta trust in mathematical theory.
You're never gonna let that one go.
Of course not. Taps to 2.
Oh wait, he's dead to Baron.
No,
the armor.
The armor will keep him alive from Barricade. Mountain Giant comes down. Turna is in a bad sort of way here. Bunnyhoppor has a lot of options.
Second polymorph.
Oh.
One thing that we've noticed very consistently about Bunny is that he will take his time even if the play feels fairly obvious.
Mm-hmm. We heard, I believe it was A83 who was saying, oh, the European players, we like to take our time. We like to think through all of our options. A lot of the other players playing quickly, and we've seen European players doing extremely well. Already 2 have qualified of the 3 possible here, and we're going to have a 3rd coming from the winner of this match. So slow and steady, it seems, does in fact win the race.
I don't really care as long as Bunnyhoppor played a combination of cards that utilize 10 mana.
Just do something, man.
Yeah, like if he removes, he's good. If he presents threats, he's also good.
Yeah, and I like Bunnyhoppor playing aggressively here. He is not playing in a way to try to just kill Turna's stuff, because Turna's at 5. Bunnyhoppor is the one who's in the position to just continue to demand answers to his threats.
Yeah. Turna is looking like he might just get closed out simply by fatigue because he just won't have anything else. He has his Lich King after Blood River Gul'dan, but outside of that, his threats aren't going to be doing very much.
All right, well, 2 homunculi.
Yikes. Oh, that just never feels good.
Well,
How do you win?
You don't. at this point.
Is he just trying to stay in it to see if Bunnyhoppor makes an epic misplay? I mean, I guess because the chance is not technically 0%.
I mean, I'm playing to make it the World Championship. I'm not conceding. I'll tell you that much.
That's right. You never know.
Get some Blizzard. And Blizzard here is actually particularly brutal because it means that there's no way that Turna can actually use minions to attack into Bunnyhoppor's minions. And now, Bunnyhoppor's the one who has the board here. And I wonder if Bunnyhoppor actually does not want to attack this. If there's some combination of spells that can kill, end up sweeping the board here. Spellstone, Defile plus Spellstone, Hero Power, or Hero Power, Spellstone plus Defile clears off some stuff. I don't think it does enough.
Let's see.
There is a Black Knight, so he could potentially Black Knight taking down the Sunwalker here, and then still can't quite attack and Spellstone down the Syndragosa. He has Spellbreaker that can be used to unfreeze his giant.
Yep, actually,
Yeah,
it's true.
Spellbreaker,
Spellbreaker
Spellbreaker with Black
enables
Knight.
a defile. Well, it enables a defile.
Also true. Okay, yeah, this way is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes,
Yep.
this is a full clear.
Straight up.
But he can't just play this game clearing. That's the thing.
Right, he needs to find a way to win. Although an alternative line is you never play a minion, they don't get to ever develop, and you keep hero power.
Turna has 5 cards to 10. He can't win this game in fatigue. He's so far deeper, and he has to deal with every single thing. I just don't think this is possible. He doesn't have a removal deck.
Right. If Bunnyhoppor just plays 2 threats,
Right.
like either the Professor Putricide, Lyra, or Skulking Geist, or even just straight up Lich King, like how does Turna really deal with this super efficiently? But Bunnyhoppor has to not be sloppy either. Doesn't want to throw away things just to get easily removed over time.
Good news, everyone.
I don't think that works with Arcane easily.
I don't think so either.
Robbed. Ooh. Dread Infernal will upgrade the Spellstone. You can use the Spellstone to kill one of these.
Right. Or just hero power.
Or just hero power the other one.
5/3. And I think as long as
Probably better to hero power here.
he's hoping that Bunnyhoppor uses his resources very liberally and then has nothing for like Lich King. And then Bunnyhoppor has to also get poor legendaries off of the Frozen Champion, which we all know has pretty good options. Lyra might give him a ton of value if it goes unchecked.
Turna is trying to hang on, but this game is hanging by a thread.
So many bloody decisions.
That might be a generous description of how it is.
I would say actually
He has one finger on the cliff before he slips
It's
off.
hanging by like one of those like spider webs that you just kind of brush out of your way, and you barely noticed it was there, but somehow it's still there, and it's really kind of annoying.
Yeah, the
It
Myacta
doesn't
web.
actually provide any real resistance.
Right.
That's kind of Turna in this game. He has no real fight left in him. He is trying, but there's just no way out for him at this point. Bunnyhoppor has way too many threats, and Turna just is not playing a deck with that many answers.
Out of my jungle.
More value for Bunnyhoppor. Trog and Phantom Militia, both very decent options.
He can also just polymorph ping this. He has the remaining polymorph available for Lich King. This is one of the bigger threats that Turna has left. So yeah, he's going to polymorph ping, push 4.
Turna, what are you going to do? He has to hope the Lich King comes up big. That's it. That's the only possibility. And even then, Lich King is fantastic. One of the best individual valued cards in Hearthstone. But what can he get off of this end of turn effect that can change the outcome of this game?
Got an Obliterate. He can obliterate something and end the game by dealing lethal damage to himself.
That's right, he can find lethal. Ouch.
And the infernal march of the water elementals continues, and I think we might be about to see Turna give it up because there is, well, maybe not because he hasn't yet. But Hellfire Ping leaves him at 6 against 5/6. He does have the Spell Stone that gets upgraded, so he can stay alive this turn. Spend some more time on the stage.
That's right. He, you know, if he tweeted out for all his fans, you know, maybe they're getting notification a little bit late on their timelines.
Yeah.
Trying to stall and let himself get a little bit more exposure.
Yeah. Hellfire plus Ping plus Greater Spellstone leaves him alive this turn.
Yes.
And clears off everything but the...
Alive is a very generous definition.
Okay, this also works.
Yeah. Obliterate technically does damage to you, so you upgrade the Spellstone. Very nice demonstration of knowledge of interactions.
And this doesn't leave a 1 health minion that you're punching with Ping, which is a problem with the Hellfire play with the Stonehill up. But again, I mean, Turna has 2 cards in his deck. Bunnyhoppor has 7. Bunnyhoppor has 30 life. He is Lich King remaining.
He has some of the highest value generating legendaries in the game of Hearthstone right now, with the Lich King, Lyra the Sun Shard. At this point, I want Bunnyhoppor to somehow stick Lyra onto the board, get things like Thought Steal, and use Turna's own business to kill him.
Well, Turna only has 2 cards.
Yeah, so just quickly do it.
He's playing big spell mage. You can't exactly chain a bunch of spells with Lyra.
Is there any more spells for the Dragon Fury? You can just use it to get something. You can style on your opponent.
Lyra
Dragon Fury for nothing.
A spell.
And then get Thought Steal.
All right, well, Lich King finally comes down. Turna does have this Black Knight he's been saving for so long. Can kill the Lich King. Bunnyhoppor gets something first. Army of the Dead, not the hottest card in this deck. All right, there's a Hooked Reaver.
Oh yeah, one thing we haven't thought about is that the Hooked Reavers haven't been played, right?
Yeah, there are.
So he actually has
Hooked
7
Reaver, Hooked Reaver. It's true.
Yeah, that's something we blatantly ignored.
Well, there's a Gluttonous Ooze, or Gluttonous Ooze, not Gluttonous Ooze, Voodoo Doll, the card next to the Gluttonous Ooze. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so as much as you know, we were kind of joking around that there's just no chance for Turna, I can totally see why he thinks that there might be some instance where he can put up a chain of threats with the Hooked Reavers. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, there is
I stand corrected.
Theoretically a world in a world. All right, there's a Blizzard.
Yeah.
Now Trog Gloomeater comes down, preemptively answering the Hooked Reavers.
Now that really stinks for Turna because he can't once again threaten his opponent.
Right. So, you know, now is this Hero Power
Pass?
go?
Because then you can bite in and play double Hooked Reaver the following turn. But Bunnyhoppor knows that Hooked Reaver is the last cards. Arcane Keysmith could also be big.
Yeah.
I mean, with Bunnyhoppor having Voodoo Doll, has
Blizzard Doomsayer.
Yeah, Blizzard Doomsayer. And Turna doesn't even have a way to answer Doomsayer because he only has Hellfire. Mirror Entity to add insult to injury.
But he has to just hope it's not Mirror. Play a Hooked Reaver. Really?
He had to hope that Bunnyhoppor disconnects. And even then, that's been patched in the game, Kibler.
What's okay.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, let it happen. Turn up Hero Power and pass. Let it go.
Let's see some Lyra fireworks. That's all I want. All I want
for the fans.
No. Ruining all the fun. All right, there it is. Turna finally hacks it in, and after a grueling game number 2, Bunnyhoppor has evened the series.
Yeah, and a really important win because if that even Warlock got through against Big Spell Mage, it would be the hardest hill to climb for Bunnyhoppor yet in this tournament or in his career.
Yeah, Bunnyhoppor has had, I think, many of the longest matches in this event. We saw him play some really, really epic matches over the first day. I believe he played the second day, actually. But you know, this looks to be like it's going to be no exception, even though he's going up against an aggressive line.
And I love how meticulous he is, even if he's super far ahead, 99.9% favor to win. He's going to take his time and analyze the situation.
Well, that's a problem that many players can have. They feel like, okay, I'm winning, and just don't really focus as much and lose to some narrow out. And they may say, oh, I got unlucky, but the reality is you can often plan around even really unlikely things.
Or get sloppy and use your coin for literally nothing except for a 1-2.
Too soon.
That's right. We're going to be taking a short intermission. When we come back, we're going to jump back into the series for game number 3. So don't go anywhere. More Summer Championship action continues right after this.
The Hearthstone Championship Tour continues. It's go time! This is the 2018 Hearthstone Summer Championship!
On this week's episode of Talkstone. Now it's time for the well-played moment, where we talk about our favorite plays.
Our well-played moment has to be from HCT Soul just a few weeks back. Taunt Druid versus Shadowwalk Shaman.
Syndalal goes with a 2/4 Acolyte opinion that he had just drawn thanks to Prince Keliseth earlier on. Saiyan recognizes this, and he's like, well, I'm not really aggroing him down. He's drawn so many cards. I just got to go for it here. And so he swipes, and he naturalizes, and he puts more damage in the Acolyte. And everything seems to be going well. You know, the pieces are getting burned.
It was burned.
I'm like, these are
Hex
important
is
cards.
burned.
These are very important cards. But so I was like, everything still works. And then all of a sudden, well played. Boom! Shutterwalk just blows up. And Syndalal, you can see it in his face. It's like rage and fury. Like Syndalal, he's like, I'm done. I can't win. It's over. Just concedes. And it's like, it's just insane to watch.
Kind of the perfect way to cap off that intense series with Syndalal burning the Shadowwalk.
Game 5. Oh.
Yeah.
With the developers.
Draw your favorite character in 90 seconds.
Okay. Little known fact, most art in Hearthstone takes more than 30 seconds.
Let's start with the background here. Let's get a nice blue sky in the background. And then let's do some orange, because we're gonna make a mana worm. And I love mana worms as creatures.
As you may or may not know, I do like murlocs. And I was thinking about, what are murlocs missing? And the answer is pets, like a murloc pet, right? I drew a murloc cat. Murloc.
This is just gonna look like a bunch of fruit for a while, and that's fine. You look at any of the masters, they draw fruit, always. This is a bird spell. It casts birds. Not threatening birds, not even a little bit. It just throws tiny birds.
All right, time's up.
Does one bird have a smaller bird on his head?
Yes.
That sort of ethereal, pure magic being. And that is a perfect, could go in the game tomorrow rendition of a mana worm.
How do you feel that went?
As awful as expected.
You know what? I don't even need your 10 seconds. Here's the bird of failure. This is what I did with my time. Get out of here.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Summer Championships, as this is the last quarterfinal, the last spot remaining for the World Championship. And of course, continuing on their dream to win it all here. $250,000 on the line, Gilder.
Yeah, it's absolutely a super hype crowd here at the Blizzard Arena. We've had lots of fans in and out all day. And I think we have some special ones we want to highlight right now.
Yeah. I heard that we hired some extras. Oh, look, there they are.
Getting the crowd hype.
That guy looks familiar.
I don't know.
Great job.
They got a huge sign now.
Oh, wow. That is a dank underground meme I've ever seen one. A little nod to the head of esports, Che Cho, who is my dad. Yes, to answer your question. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this series. Bunnyhoppor versus Turna, tied 1 game apiece. And remember, Bunnyhoppor kind of did the same thing when he played against Killing All Day's lineup. He was also tied 1 game apiece going into games 3 and 4, and then was able to win big time with his Miracle Rogue and his Shutterwalk Shaman. So let's go ahead and see if that's going to repeat last time we saw Bunnyhoppor take on this deck, he was able to get a really important victory to close out the series and advance to the top 8.
Yeah, this Shaman here for Turna, the even Shaman deck has performed very well over the course of this tournament. I believe Turna and both Turna and Killinell they played it. And I believe there's one other player, I think it was Blood Trail, who played even Shaman, but it has been able to consistently pressure many of the decks that you have been looking to even beat some of the aggressive decks. It's tough to get your wins against, say, even Warlock, but that's the reason Turna banned it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still laughing at the sign DJ was holding up. It's really funny. We'll tell that story one day, but now is not the time. This is serious stuff on the line here, Gibbler. Shudderwalk Shaman, having that Manatide Totem, having that Bog Shaper, being that difference between other deck lists that prioritize putting Prince Keleseth and a few other cards in the deck. You have to really compensate for that. So having early spells and Bog Shaper can be really powerful. But look at Bunnyhoppor not even keeping Manatide Totem. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I thought Turna was playing Warlock. He was playing Shaman himself. So forget everything I said.
I was just talking about even Shaman. You're just laughing at the joke.
I was. Trust me, TJ has that effect.
Even Shaman's been doing pretty well. Ha ha. I remember that sigh. Anyway, into the actual game. Turna does start off with one Searing Boy on turn 1, which is actually pretty good for him, getting some pressure. Most of the totems don't really do that much. I actually wonder if Bunnyhoppor may just Earth Shock this to stop the development, which may sound like a total joke, but the answer to your opponent having aggressive stuff can involve just keeping their early board contained, but that does have some good targets in Flame Tongue Totem in particular.
Yeah, I think, with Bunnyhoppor not having AoE at his disposal, he might think about that stuff in the future, but there's a lot of application for things like the Earth Shock if you want to hit that Flame Tongue like you mentioned, if you want to hit Corpse Taker, really threatening cards as the game continues to develop. And there's nothing really too special about Turner's deck list when I look at it at first glance. Pretty standard stock list that you see a lot of people playing. And Bunnyhoppor will look for options to control the state of the board. Look at how aggressive Turna is with his Mercspark Eel, just playing it on curve and trying to pressure. And I like it too. When you have things like Sea Giant, you want to have the most resilient board and the fastest board possible to make sure that that is your big bomb to finish the game.
Mercspark on the board also gives him the ability to play Direwolf next to a 2-attack minion if his opponent does, say, coin out an Acolyte or a Manatide. To remove that with only a single card draw, as well as, of course, use the hero power to keep things going.
Little time.
And Bunnyhopper's actually in a position where he has to debate, if he does hero power, or rather, if he doesn't coin something out, does he even want to hero power? Because his hero powers often don't do anything. A healing totem doesn't really do much here. And it just feeds into Turna's Sea Giants, reducing their cost.
And there is value holding onto the coin because of the Pyromancer that we were talking about.
And here, Turna gets paid off for his Mercspark Eel play last turn. Someone may have chosen to, say, play the Direwolf last turn to just push one more damage, still have the Eel damage for later. Turna, though, recognizes, okay, there's 2 important 3-health minions my opponent could coin out here, and he wanted to preemptively get the Eel on the board so that the Wolf could buff it and kill it.
Bunnyhoppor has 2 forms of card draw, Farsight and Manatide, both kind of just draw 1 card here. The Manatide gains you 3 extra life, but it does also add another minion to the board in the event that your opponent has some Sea Giant opportunities. It looks like it would put Turna off by 1 mana regardless.
And from Turna's perspective, he's obviously trying to get to Sea Giant, but does not want to overcommit so much that he's just wiped out by a Lightning Storm or a Volcano.
Yeah.
Optimally, he'd love to have a board that is not ultimately super threatening, that gets Bunnyhoppor to pull the trigger on Volcano, but can then develop a Sea Giant that protects his board so Volcano is not enough to clear.
In the end, Bunnyhoppor has a lot weaker hits on Farsight than the traditional Shudderwalk Shaman list that you might see on ladder, because he's so much more emphasis on the early game with Ancestral Healing, 2 Earth Shocks, 2 Wild Pyromancers, Murmuring Elemental. Those are okay if it's a slow matchup, you don't really mind that, but in this matchup, you kind of want to hit like Volcano. Like, Grumble is, like, not that impressive here.
Grumble's great in the situations where you potentially want to just kind of combo early on, but he's looking for damage. He's looking for removal for Turna's board. He'd love to find, very specifically, Lightning Storm or Volcano, but also Wild Pyromancer is extremely good.
Yeah, and he only has one copy of Lightning Storm, too.
That does make his list more vulnerable to aggressive decks than the typical Shutterwalk Shaman, though he does hedge against that a little bit with Wild Pyromancer plus a number of cheap spells.
So normally Turna's best play in this scenario is a Serenite Chain Gang or a Corpse Taker. He's just going to play it a little bit slow, knows that coming up on some really big opportunities for your opponent to swing the board with Wild Pyromancer, or if your opponent hit Volcano off of the Farsight. And that gives Bunnyhoppor a little bit of breathing room to set up his own board development, but by playing Serenite Chain Gang, Sea Giant will be at least 3 mana or cheaper.
Bunnyhoppor now trying to figure out how he wants to navigate this. He does not have that removal. He does not have the coin anymore. He used the coin to play a card draw minion, which keeps him off of being able to, say, get out an early Haggith if he survives that long. But he has just 4 mana. There's no threat of him volcanoing this turn or comboing Wild Pyromancer with Lightning Storm. So I'm actually a little bit surprised that Turna didn't choose to play the Chain Gang, because with just 1 Lightning Storm and Bunnyhoppor having no coin, he was pretty well protected to be able to develop the Sea Giant the next turn quite easily.
Yeah, that's a fair analysis. But we've seen Turna take pretty conservative routes. It kind of has. It's kind of been the case when he's played Odd Paladin, for example, where he's been hedging against his opponent's best card a lot of the times. But now he has one of the best cards in his deck available on both ends, both in the mid-range sense with Corpse Taker and also some of the top end with Sea Giant. So the Sea Giant's cheapest will be 2, no matter what he does. And Turna's also trying to calculate how much health it will be on the board after he's done pushing with everything.
Right. That's one of the key things that you need to figure out in this matchup is, okay, well, what can I do to make my board not vulnerable to Volcano? And it looks like his answer is play Sea Giant.
Yeah, so Sea Giant plus Direwolf is 10. If you can stick 6 more health on the board, that'll be the optimal setup. So that way Sea Giant has an astoundingly high chance to survive a Volcano. So he trades these 2, plays Vicious, Scale Hide. That's definitely enough.
And the Healing Totem helps him a bit here. He's able to push a little bit more damage in this way. So the Healing Totem gets the Scale Hide and the Merkspark heal up. That gives him 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And with the Sea Giant, the biggest of those, it is the most likely to survive the Volcano.
Really clutch by Turna to get that Healing Totem.
Yep.
But I guess if he didn't have Healing Totem, he could have traded in his Merkspark heal instead.
I think he was he actually 100% to get it, or did he have a spell?
Yeah, because he wouldn't have traded his spell damage totem. He would have had, like, say, a Searing or a Taunt Totem, and he would have just had a 1/3 and a 2.
Yeah.
So it would have been fine.
Yeah, so the sequencing is very important there to maximize your chances. And another Chain Gang comes down for Bunnyhoppor, trying to save off some damage. And Earth Shock just taking off the buff, which, crucially actually does potentially prevent 8 damage here from the Giant. Unless Turna commits some additional resources to this. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Turna just Hex. Hex to push 8 here.
Oh man, Hex to push 8. Yeah, I mean, when you say it like that, and your opponent's at 13, that sounds appetizing.
If he does play Hex and Primal Fin, I believe it's 11, 12. Because he ends up losing 2. Yeah, he's going to do it, it looks like.
Yeah, he should definitely have enough health to still stick around, because just the Primal Fin Totem and the Sea Giant alone is 12, and if Merkspark heal and Healing Totem survive, that's enough.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do.
There is little time.
Bunnyhoppor down 5 facing this Sea Giant, and 5 damage spread across the other minions that remain. So even if he has Hex here, Hex is not enough.
Yeah. If he has Hex, he needs what? Healing Totem? That's it.
There it is. Turna up 2 games to 1 winning Shaman versus Shaman, and now just needs to push his final deck through to make it to the World Championship.
Very strong recognition from Turna to understand what his opponent's trying to do, what he's setting up for in case he draws it, because it was very clear Bunnyhoppor had no AoE, and even if he did, Turna was ensuring that that would not be the case to destroy his board. And that is the power of even Shaman and why it's one of the strongest decks in this metagame.
Yeah, it definitely just continues to put the pressure on, and one thing that makes it so powerful is that it doesn't need that many resources to do it. We saw just with essentially Direwolf Alpha. He was pushing just incremental damage for a while, and then the big hitter in the Sea Giant comes down, and the game ends very quickly.
That's right. So it's 2-1 for Turna. If he wins one more game, he's going to semifinals and the World Championship. When we come back, we're going to find out if that's the case. Can he get a win with the Even Warlock, or will Bunnyhoppor strike back?
I'm Bunnyhoppor. I'm from Germany and I currently live in Oslo, Norway. I like playing Hearthstone firstly because I've loved playing cards games since I was a child. My family and friends, they're overall supportive of me playing Hearthstone as an esport, but they're all very clear about what my number one priority should be in my life, that being my PhD and future work in the chemical sector.
And that's going to do it. You guys have gone over it 1,000 times already. Bunnyhoppor is moving on to the Europe Winter Championship. What a ride for him.
In order to balance playing professionally and working a full-time job, I think you just generally have to accept that you're not going to be able to put in as much time in preparation and playing ladder and different things as other professional players. But you have to be confident in yourself that in the less time that you have, you can still make up for the training that others are getting in more time, trying to be a little bit more effective where others do not need to be effective. I actually don't have a good answer for how I balance my work and my professional gaming life, because it's almost impossible to do both correctly at the same time. A little sleep is part of the answer, but that's definitely not an ideal solution.
My name is Marco Castiglioni and I'm from Italy. I enjoy competition so much in every aspect of my life. That's why I enjoy playing Hearthstone.
Turna can go book his spot in the Summer Championships. He's done it.
It's difficult to balance time between studying and playing Hearthstone. So most of the time I just concentrate myself on one or another. When a tournament is near, I just play Hearthstone. And when a tournament is finished, I start studying for my exams. This is the third time I'm playing a high-stake tournament, so I'm getting used to it, and I hope that this time I'm not going to lose in the early stage. Winning the tournament will mean a lot for me. I will invest some of the money in one startup, because after I'm finished my studies, I would like to start a company. And of course, I will bring my girlfriend in an expensive restaurant. I promise that to her. Hey guys, thank you for voting me and supporting me and having faith in me. So I hope for everyone that I'm going to bring you packs.
Turna's one game away from going to the World Championships, and fans eagerly look on to see if their favorite players like Dog and Kill and all that, they can maybe beat them. Dog, if you're around, come out. I haven't seen him here today. Maybe he's sleeping in a little bit. But we're having a good time here in the Blizzard Arena. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Turna's one game away with his Even Warlock from going to the semifinals. Bunnyhoppor has Miracle Rogue, one of the best decks against Even Warlock. So we'll hold our judgment whether or not Bunnyhoppor's down and out.
And we have seen this Warlock deck look like it may be the weak point of this this aggro lineup because many players have chosen to target it with decks like Miracle Road. So while the even Shaman punches his way through and the Paladin punches his way through, there still is this deck that many players are targeting.
Yeah, it's really hard to forge a complete aggro lineup. You have the decks that we've seen, even Shaman, Odd Paladin, and even Warlock. And even then, they could technically be categorized also as a mid-range deck, too, based off the way their playstyles are evolving and also just by their deck list themselves. You evaluate a lot of late-game cards like, 8 drops, 10 mana cards like Blood River Gul'dan, and wow, this is an aggro deck? This is an aggro lineup?
It's true, though. The deck plays very aggressively in a lot of matchups. It's not like the old Control Warlock or even Cube Lock in terms of relying on these late-game power spikes. It's really just looking to play Giant, Twilight Drake, Hooked Reaver.
I know.
Beat your opponent up with big minions.
Yeah.
And right now, Turna does have that Mountain Giant in his hand. Bunnyhoppor does not have a Sap. Bunnyhoppor does not have a Vile Spine Slayer. So while this matchup is typically tilted in favor of the Rogue, Turna does have the cards he needs to fight through it.
That can all change by one card.
Absolutely.
Doomsayer can stop Rogue's development, give you a very clean turn 4, or at least force your opponent to address it, and then they can't really freely set up things like Hench Clan Thug, Van Cleef, SI7 Agent, whatever they want to play on 3.
Turn 2 taps again.
But even if Turner doesn't find a Doomsayer, he still has Vulgar Homunculus, which also has been quite important whenever I play even Warlock against Miracle Rogue. It feels like that 2/4 can help stabilize a little bit of that damage, so that way you have buffer room for those 4 drops to do some damage.
Bunnyhoppor here on turn 2. Looks like he may just be daggering up this turn. He will often want to hold on to Flame Elemental as a combo enabler, whether for SI or Eviscerate or Cold Blood. He does still have the coin as well, but Dagger sets up for a potential Hench Clan Thug draw the next turn, though he may even just be looking to coin out Eldori Strider, assuming that there's no massive development that Turna has with, say, a Doomsayer.
Yeah, Bunnyhoppor has a very versatile hand.
Doomsayer is a great draw for Turna here. We just mentioned this can help stymie Bunnyhoppor's development. Bunnyhoppor being able to coin out a Feldori Strider, or, get ahead on the board before the Giant comes down, can let him try to race. But that Doomsayer shuts down that plan.
And, we kind of talked about the versatility of Bunnyhoppor hand. He does have a way to draw. That's kind of what sometimes you can do if your opponent is guaranteed to stall out onto the board. You can coin out this Elven Minstrel, draw some cards. Also can shuffle spiders if he just wants to get that investment in. But then his best play is Flame Elemental SI7 Agent, which feels really bad.
I think that Bunnyhoppor may just hit him in the face. You really don't want to use your coin to just put spiders in your deck. You're not getting the 4/4 body in play either. It's a very valuable resource in the matchup, as we have heard Rosti say many times.
He can remove it, but it is a huge investment, and he's protecting essentially a 1/2. But he's more importantly seizing tempo away from his opponent, and he has a second Eviscerate. So if he prep Eviscerate SI7 Agent, it's a big investment.
Yeah.
But we kind of talked about the value of getting that early board. And then another question is, but does Bunnyhoppor even do damage to the Even Warlock?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a very awkward spot for Bunnyhoppor. He can remove this, and looks like he is really torn.
Okay. Double Eviscerate kind of tells you that your hand wants to be aggressive. You had SI to even lob an extra 2-pointer. But his best play is Faldori Strider, and that is exactly half of what Turner's about to do to Bunny.
Yeah, this is a spot for Turna. Does he want to tap? Does he want to just play the Giant? He decides my life matters more than digging 1 card into my deck.
Yeah, Sap could be problematic if he burns a really important card like Hooked Reaver. And Bunnyhoppor was so torn up about that play, which gives Turna the hint that Bunnyhoppor, he could do something to it. It's like, why would you take so long to do that if you hovered over a card? Were you thinking about maybe doing something?
To be fair, he's watched Bunnyhoppor play this weekend, and Bunnyhoppor has taken a long time to do just about everything.
Yeah, we don't call him Bunny Roper for nothing.
But to be fair to him, this is clearly a very high-stakes situation, and many of these decisions are not nearly as easy as many would have you believe.
So Bunnyhoppor draws the Firefly number 2, which is not very powerful right now, but if he extends the length of this game, which gives him, which his hand tells him he can because he has Valdorite Strider and he has Elven Minstrel, and it kind of implies that he has the ability to go long.
You have the...
He's trying to draw a Vilespine Slayer.
Okay.
That's his big chance to swing the board.
Getting the Vilespine off of this means that he has potential to prep Eviscerate with the Vilespine. He does not find it.
This is not good for Bunny right now. And Turna finds the hooked Reaver.
Oh, another giant. If Bunnyhoppor does not draw, well, interestingly,
if he draws Vilespine, he's actually still good.
If he draws Vilespine, he actually has a full clear of the giant.
If he draws Sap, he's still in an okay-ish spot.
He also just has double Eviscerate in his hand, and Turna has tapped himself down to 19. He is still pretty far from being able to use those for lethal damage, but not so far that it's unreasonable to think that he can start doing the math and trying to add things up.
Well, there actually would be a specific 5-card combo. Leroy, Prep, Eviscerate, Prep, Cold Blood, something equivalent to that would be 19 with what's on the board.
Oh, and
trades?
Turna trade. Whoa! He is. He is not looking to get that killed by that 4-card combo. I mean, there is Prep, Eviscerate, Eviscerate. If he had Leroy, that is lethal damage.
That would be a turn 5 kill. Wow. That being said, Bunnyhoppor gains a little bit of life here, or a lot of life rather. He just got 8 from that Elven Minstrel. It was a 3/8 taunt for all intents and purposes. And then Bunnyhoppor now can Hench Clan Thug, Eviscerate, keep this double prep for the Gadgeton Auctioneer, set up an opportunity to have really nice saps. But the only thing is that Bunnyhoppor would love to play Valdorite Strider because if he's going to set up for a Gadgeton Auctioneer turn and draw a bunch of cards, you might as well put spiders in the mix. But to do that, he has to part ways with the preparation. So this is a huge trade-off for Bunnyhoppor if he chooses to go for the spiders by losing a preparation.
Who comes there?
Just gonna go set up, save his preparations, try to get that big turn with Auctioneer.
And I do agree with it ultimately because Auctioneer ensures that you have a long game plan. A lot of times Miracle Rogue kind of tells you to go all in, double prep, double eviscerate with like a Cold Blood. It's like, well, I'm just gonna do one thing. In this case, he actually has options.
All right, well, Turna gonna go ahead and set up a Vulgar Homunculus, Bubblies and Yummies. We've had some Bubblies and Yummies fan in the crowd with that sign. And it really is the best voice line.
Yes, it is.
Bubblies and Yummies. I can't do the voice, but
spot on, Kibler.
All right,
Admirable gives his seal of approval.
Gadgetzan Auctioneer, preparation into Eviscerate. Second preparation in hand, can find the sap for that giant.
No.
Fan of Knives or Shiv are the options available to Bunnyhoppor here.
Yeah, and I think I like Shiv a little bit better because it gives Backstab an opportunity to be used to cycle a single card. Oh, Shiv!
1 card off on the sap.
So Bunnyhoppor using things like Shiv to potentially enable combos or start even dealing damage. But Turna now has full authority to rush ahead on the board as much as he wants. Right?
He also knows that both Eviscerates are gone. Both preparations are gone. So the ability for Bunnyhoppor to deal burst damage as well as to just break tempo here is very different than otherwise could be.
His cheese potential is pretty low, to say the least. We've seen some Miracle Rogue do crazy double prep stuff with Leroy to end the game. Not going to be the case this time.
And he looks like he's hovering over the Skulking guys. He wants to get rid of Cold Blood, so now he takes out that Cold Blood in the hand.
Ouch.
And Turna playing a control game here. The burst damage potential for Bunnyhoppor is incredibly low now. Only a single Cold Blood remains, along with Leroy, to actually push damage beyond what he can put into the board.
And a large reason is because Bunnyhoppor was unable to invest into his future tempo with things like the Valdorite Strider. Imagine drawing 5 cards deep with Gadgeton Auctioneer. It most likely would have hit some of those spiders to fight back on the board.
Yeah, just the Leroy. I actually misspoke there. The guy gets rid of the Cold Blood, not only from the hand, but from the deck.
Right.
So
I know what you meant.
Oh, but there is a Skulking Geist?
This
Or
guy's
Skulking. No, that's not a Skulking Geist. You're screwing me up, Dan. It's a Vilespine Slayer. That's what I meant.
Gotcha.
But anyway, SI plus Sap takes the board apart.
I know what you mean. When you react off of a top deck, we all know what you're talking about, Killer. Don't worry. But Turna can just set up this hooked Reaver, answer the SI7 agent pretty easily here.
Spellstone heals him up for 5, up to 19, with a 7/7 in play. There is the Thug plus Vilespine potentially available for Bunnyhoppor. The real threat from Bunnyhoppor here is just going to be Feldori Strider. Now, he's not able to play a burst damage game. Just Leroy Jenkins remains for burst, but he does still have the Striders. He's able to potentially make a board of a bunch of 4/4s that he can pressure Turna with. However, Turna does still have Hellfire in hand, a Dread Infernal, Defile in hand.
Right.
So if there is a board that goes wide from Bunnyhoppor, he has the ability to remove it before it can really get damage in.
Yeah, that's kind of the big problem with concentrating all your Feldori Striders towards the very end, because they're very likely to pop out 3 in a row, or maybe even just 2 in a row. And then you lose a lot of the staggered push that makes this deck so scary as the game develops.
Speaking of scary, Henchkullian Thug can get very scary very quickly. Turna needs to be worried about committing too much and not removing this board. Obviously, Lich King looks pretty attractive. Your opponent has played Vilespine and Sap, but there's still another Vilespine, still another Sap. There's a lot that can take out an individual big minion.
Yeah, life taps first on an odd cost turn. I'm looking for a Defile opportunity for Turna, because as long as he has Hellfire, Dread Infernal, he's still good to clear the board.
He could just stack up some minions here. He is going to Hellfire. All right, well, Hellfire Defile here.
He hasn't seen a single spider, so he feels okay throwing this away.
There have been no Feldori Striders played, so that does mean that there's no threat of them coming out immediately.
I don't know. I think that gives Bunnyhoppor an actual window of opportunity now.
Well, Bunnyhoppor does have the Strider he can play this turn. He has...
Oh, that's so good, because now he has Strider, Questing Adventure, Shiv, Backstab to remove and have a full clear board.
Yeah, this actually can demand an answer from Turna here immediately, because he'll have 2 threatening minions against a single, an empty board, in fact.
And that's good, too, against Turna's best potential play, because the way Turna set this up makes it look like maybe he's indicating he wants to play Blood River Gul'dan next turn, because he cleared the board as a priority and then set up another Demon Taunt. So that usually means you want to have a squeaky scenario for either development through Blood River Gul'dan, or maybe just like 2 threats simultaneously. So if I'm Bunnyhoppor, I want to play as much as I can into that if he's going to play Blood River Gul'dan and develop, so I can answer it and then leverage cards like Sap. No Questing Adventurer. He wants to get spiders, force out removal, then play Questing Adventurer.
All right, so what this is doing is giving him the immediate draw with... Well, he would have gotten the immediate draw anyway.
Right.
There we go. Spider number 1. And now with that Hellfire gone, Turna is lacking the ability to clear this off. And there's a Sap in Bunnyhoppor's hand. A single taunt doesn't do anything.
Yes. Miracle World going to win this game despite having everything go wrong with its damage? Like, Eviscerates and Cold Bloods are just not going to hit face whatsoever this game.
Miracle Rogue is a very powerful deck in this matchup. And
so sick.
Turna did take this game very slow. He took a very controlling tack to this game. And now Bunnyhoppor has been able to navigate and contain that aggression. There's a Sap here.
Sap looking for backstab as well.
Sap into Minstrel is potentially huge because it offers the ability to find the other Vilespine. So even the Lich King coming down won't stop his attacks.
And it's a good Sap too, because Sunfury Protector was already played, so it's not like it's going to regain taunt, and you're just trying to threaten your opponent right now.
Is this also an opportunity that he can potentially play the Questing as well? If he plays Questing into Elven Minstrel, into Sap, and potentially even Flame Elemental, he gets a pretty big questing, and then if your opponent does just, say, play Lich King, it's not big enough to deal with your board. They can't deal with the questing plus the rest of your board.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that may be what Bunnyhopper's going for here. He wanted to get his initial spider board, and now
Give me a quest.
he's going to get going. Going on a quest.
Yeah, and it sets up a similar scenario to Turna, where after he already used the Spellbreaker,
There's
mentioned.
Edwin and Leroy. Sat. Yep. Flame Elemental here. That is a 5/5.
Trades to prevent the Hellfire clear. Turner picks up a plated beetle. He can't do anything right now.
He would have to tap into Hellfire, Spellbreaker, Hellfire, and then he died to Leroy Jenkins.
Is there any other way?
If he taps, finds Defile, can he Dread Infernal Defile here? No, the questing adventure is too big. And he's got Lich King.
Lich King.
I mean, I think that's
that would
his
just
only
be death.
His only hope here is just play Lich King, but Leroy Jenkins, plus that questing on the board that Bunnyhoppor had the presence of mind to play last turn.
Wow, I am thoroughly impressed. Bunnyhoppor is going to strike back, tie up the series, and send it to a deciding Game 5, despite the odds going against him.
Yeah, that game, it felt like Turna had all the tools he needed. It felt like Bunnyhoppor had to use his tools in a way he did not want, but he was able to piece together the Spider offense as the game went late and take this to a deciding game.
Absolutely ridiculous how Turna had full control. He had Doomsayer, Giant. And you're telling me he lost that game?
I have to wonder, did he falter by not using his Giants more aggressively? He gave Bunnyhoppor so much time by just attacking into a minion, attacking into him. He attacked into an Elven Minstrel with a Giant. And Bunnyhoppor just ended up being able to play that game so slowly, get to the Auctioneer, get so many extra cards.
Right, he was waiting for his opponent to Vilespine, but he Vilespine so late, it didn't matter because he had it so late. And as a result, Miracle was given so much time. The big weakness of the Rogue deck is either all removal, which is what Turna was trying to play to, or aggression. And Turna wasn't able to do that despite given the opportunity.
And I feel like the Even Warlock deck, we talked about this a number of times throughout the weekend, it's a deck that's much more of a mid-range deck. It's more of an aggressive deck. It tries to put pressure on you by playing the big minions early, and Turna, he didn't really put that pressure on. He tried to play a controlling game, but he didn't have that many controlling tools, and Bunnyhoppor was able to exploit that.
This game is going to game number 5, where it's all on the line. And the deck remaining for Bunnyhoppor is Shudderwalk Shaman up against Even Warlock. Not going to be the favored matchup that Miracle Rogue, though, so you can kind of see why Miracle Rogue's favored, even despite a lot of things going wrong. If you miss one step or give one opening, which is the Faldorei Strider into the immediate Spider, you can see the impact of that and why we were talking about how he wanted to set up much earlier, just wasn't given a chance to.
Yeah, and the Spiders, he still had Spiders remaining in his deck. It's not like he needed to absolutely win the game that turn.
Right.
Turna was the one who was kind of running dry. He had some low impact cards in his hand. He had a Dread Infernal that didn't find a great spot lining up against the offense. And I really have to wonder, the turn that he chose to use his Hellfire, was there something else he could find as well? Because he ended up finding himself against the board with Spider, with no way to clear it, and everything just snowballed from there. It was just on the back foot after that point.
Yeah, well, regardless, he has to live with decisions that he's made, and that set the stage for a game number 5. So don't go anywhere. The conclusion of the series is coming up right after this.
The Hearthstone Championship Tour continues. It's go time! This is the 2018 Hearthstone Summer Championship! the developers.
The esports scene in Hearthstone being as friendly and as interactive as it is, I would have to say is probably, at least in part, attributed to the fact that it really is intended to be a game for everyone. It's meant to be easy to learn, easy to get into.
We always wanted Hearthstone to be kind of a warm, friendly, welcoming game, and although there is this competitive aspect to it, we've strived to make the game very friendly.
Are you watching? Are you watching right now?
Well, I think the vibe of Hearthstone itself is one about coming together. You know, it's about the tavern. It's about all these people, races coming together across time and space to enjoy a game of Hearthstone together. And I think that vibe actually really carries over into real life when you're playing Hearthstone.
I think there's a lot of charm and whimsy to Hearthstone that kind of keeps it lighthearted.
I think it's a little bit harder to get too tilted over something that's just like inherently a little bit goofy.
It's legendary. There's also the fact that it's a single player. It means there's not as much inter-team conflict that can occur, and negative play happens, the player kind of knows, oh, I made a mistake, or I'll keep that in mind, I'll do better next time.
It's very important to have really good practice partners in Hearthstone, and especially if you want to be a competitive player, and sharing ideas, sharing strategies, and a lot of what's best about Hearthstone is when you're playing with friends and trying to work together to solve the problem of a specific tournament.
Despite it being like competitive, you still are having a great time with it, and you still have moments that you laugh about. Sometimes cynically when all 8 missiles hit face or something.
That's gonna happen to you, right? Like that's kind of what makes the game great in some respects. You're just having a lot of really cool Ragnaros shots hitting you and missing you, and like having the bullet whiz by your head and hit your minion, and like that that heart palpitation going, and like those moments are just core to Hearthstone, I think.
Welcome back, everyone, to Summer Championship. We're just taking a moment to allow the players to use the restroom as we get ready for game number 5. And that's a lot of attention. That tells you a story right there and then about how the players are feeling going into this last game.
I mean, they've played some long and grueling games already, so it's no wonder that they need to take a break for themselves.
Yeah, it's one game that separates them from even more internet money and wealth, or fame, rather. But in the meantime, we also have some cool videos to show you. One of them being the reactions. You don't really get to see the casters behind the scenes once the gameplay is on. So we cut a little piece to show you guys what exactly happens.
And, as the reigning prediction champion. No? Okay. I think it's
got him. I just got robbed before, so I'm still bitter. Poisonous! Poisonous!
No!
He just played at it right. What? What?
No! Butcher, what are you doing?
I'd say the weirdest place I ever played Hearthstone, it's probably like right here.
Me and Avril are actually
right now.
playing against each other right now.
That was just the most subtle thing I've ever heard. You talk about fighting games, Oh, Hearthstone's here as well.
If you're playing Hearthstone Caster Bingo at home, subtle talks about fighting games is crossed off right now. This is the swing now where he's starting to take control. That Spirit Echo as well. That is Ancestral Spirit for all of his minions.
I hope you guys enjoy that little look. What would you look at that? Turna and Bunnyhoppor are back in the seats, ready to play.
I do want to say, I think we couldn't recognize that my reactions, like ridiculous expressions and stuff, are very genuine because there's no camera on me then. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm waving my hands around and everything.
Yeah, being stuck between a TJ and Admirable is definitely much less preferred between a rock and a hard place.
They're high-fiving over there on the other
Hey.
desk, but I'm still going to deny TJ that high five once again.
TJ is a big fan of high fives, so if you ever see him, give him a high five.
But speaking of high fives, one of these players is looking to earn a few from the crowd with a win after this game, which will put them into the semifinals and the World Championship. It all comes down to this.
Turna with his mulligan decisions. Bunnyhoppor taking his time. Most important things is early card draw and removal combinations. If you don't have removal, you have stall. Things like Serenite Chain Gang can be decent. Glacial Shard, but they're not your utmost priority. Those are things you are okay with compared to some draw opportunities. And Bunnyhoppor throws away Accolade Pain. Just wasn't Manatide Totem or Farsight that badly. Hex is an okay compromise.
Into our strength.
And Bunnyhoppor is playing a version of Shudderwock that is particularly built to be stronger in this matchup. Specifically, he's only playing a single copy of Life Drinker. He mentioned during an interview earlier in the weekend, either he or Viper did, that the goal of their deck in the matchup is to try and deny any value from the Hooked Reavers. And Life Drinker works at odds with that. If you're forced to play a Life Drinker, you put your opponent closer to Hooked Reaver and give them more powerful threats. And the whole goal is to deny those. And poof, Bunnyhoppor picks up that Mana Tide, rewarded for that full mulligan.
Reward for the full mulligan, yeah. I like it. I mean, it's supposed to be that the Warlock develops threats, but oftentimes the 3-mana cards are just annoying enough that they can't really move efficiently, because the best play is often Plated Beetle or Vocal Homunculus, and Acolyte and Mana Tide will survive either of those minions' attacks.
Turna definitely wants to life tap here. Oh, actually, he has. This was actually something we talked about over earlier in the weekend. He has a Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Yeah.
Acidic Swamp Ooze on turn 2 contests both Acolyte of Pain and Mana Tide. And I would not be surprised to see Turna choose to forgo the life tap here and develop the Acidic Swamp Ooze preemptively. No, he chooses to life tap.
Okay. I mean, the thing is, Turna
doesn't have a big threat. That's the big thing.
He needs to improve the quality of his hand, because Acidic Swamp Ooze is great, but doesn't actually progress anything. It just stalls out the game. That being said, if Mana Tide draws, 2 or 3 cards, that's when you're full of regret.
That's just like a meme formation. Acidic Swamp Ooze is great, but you have her life tapped. And he did. And Bunnyhoppor taking his time before playing the Mana Tide.
Yeah. It will be fairly standard. I mean, what waiting does also gives this illusion of maybe you have Acolyte, maybe you have Farsight, just stuff to try and make it harder to read as an opponent, as opposed to just instantly playing it.
There's also the recognition that it is important for players to plan out not only what they are doing on this turn, but also potential plays on future turns.
Remind yourself. That's honestly what you do. You just constantly remind yourself of the game plan so you don't deviate based off a reaction. A lot of times, the card you draw off your top tends to bias your opinion. Like, oh, I just drew this. I got so lucky. I don't want to waste this opportunity. Hold on. You don't want to get baited. So Turna, with that opportunity to answer this Mana Tide in a multitude of ways, but none of them look that great.
They don't. He doesn't even have a Spellbreaker to immediately stop the card draw.
Right. Like Doomsayer, for example, against a double Earthshock list, does not look that great.
No.
But at the same time, if you use Earthshock, it's like, oh, well, he didn't use it on my Twilight Drake. So it's one of those situations where if you're Turna, this is kind of the best it gets. And if you're Bunnyhoppor, you think, huh, am I okay with using Earthshock here?
There's also an interesting argument for whether Turna should choose to life tap here. It does burn a card. However, it gets his life total down and gets him to a position where Hooked Reaver can become a threat.
Yeah.
By not life tapping, yes, he doesn't burn a card, but he also puts himself in a position where he is farther away from being able to effectively use Hooked Reaver.
And that's like a really good argument for playing Vulgar Homunculus instead, because it would survive a Hellfire if Saturday Night Chain Gang came down, and it gets him closer to Hooked Reaver.
Or for playing the Ooze on 2.
Or the Ooze. I mean, I was on board with Ooze on 2.
Like, the life tap on 2, I think, is actually going to really come back and haunt Turna, because this Mana Tide is going to get at least 1 more card, perhaps more if Bunnyhoppor chooses to Earthshock this, and I see no reason he would not. There's not that many great targets. I guess, never mind. I was going to say there's not that many great targets, and I'm like, wait, no, he has Twilight Drake.
Yeah, Twilight Drake being the big threat. But outside of that, though, you're generally right. Like, Silence is a lot less effective outside of the Doomsayer and the Twilight Drake. I mean, I guess you can hit Hooked Reaver.
There's actually also a problem with Earthshocking a Doomsayer, because it does leave up a 6 health minion against your Volcanoes.
Oh,
and that's actually a big problem. So thinking about that again, I actually really dislike Earthshock on that. Once I actually let myself, consider the implications.
I think it's really valuable what you just did. I think people basically gained insight to how you think about a turn. You think, well, these are like 2 reasons for, and these are like 4 reasons against. And also, I'm reading my opponent's hand. That's pretty much the conclusion we come to. And so now Turna has that opportunity to develop some minions, and he can kind of make up the lack of presence of a Twilight Drake by putting out 4 or 5 power, but it's not something super intimidating and will stick to the board easily.
Well, Ooze is going to come down alongside a Vulgar Homunculus.
Bunnyhoppor has Hagatha. One thing that I'm very curious about too is whether or not Bunnyhoppor will ever be able to get value off Bogshaper. I've seen Bogshaper, 4 or 5 times by now in this tournament, and it has almost no impact whatsoever.
I saw Bogshaper draw some cards once, and then the player immediately died, if I recall correctly.
Just as like a way to show his hand, like play Bogshaper.
Oh, I
cards.
think he was like looking for something, didn't find a glacial shard, needed to find exactly that or something like that. I don't recall exactly, but it has not looked as impressive as I think they might have liked over the course of this event.
I have very similar anecdotes, and well, if social media is any indication, anecdote translates directly to data and facts.
Yeah, Bunnyhoppor here, without any great plays, he does not want to play as Life Drinker. We heard him talk about that earlier, as I mentioned, because the Life Drinker helps facilitate the Warlock getting their life low for Hook Reaver.
Yeah, there's not really much going on here. You can let your opponent develop slightly. Hook Reaver is still pretty far away, right?
It is.
24.
It is quite far away, but every point of damage matters. We have seen a lot of players choose to forgo damage almost entirely playing against these Warlock decks in order to prevent Hooked Reaver from being a significant threat.
Yep.
Until the game was essentially decided already.
I like playing double 2s here to keep life tapping, get your life lower. Sun Fury is not even that valuable because of the threat of Black Knights and all these Shutterwalks that are just shutting down big mountain giants or Lich Kings.
I wouldn't be surprised if you do see Sun Fury going on the side of the minion that already has taunt.
Right. The question is if he wants to play even double Sun Fury in this position, because Vulgar Homunculus is a little bit better on the board. But
used it.
Yeah, I guess it's better against Lightning Storm if that was the case.
There is only a single copy of Lightning Storm in Bunnyhoppor's deck, so that has to be on Turna's mind as he decides how he wants to do this. Interesting. Killing the Healing Totem both forgoes damage to face and also prevents your opponent from having the additional 0-2 that they can't get rid of for their Volcano Math.
Agreed. I think the Volcano Math does come to play very often in this matchup, especially as the game develops, when you develop double threat starting from turn 8 onwards. When you play double 4,
right?
It's like, well, your opponent has 16 health or 14, and that's where the totem really comes to play. So that I wonder if that's going to bite Turna in the later turns.
It does mean that if Turna does choose to attack into a Vulgar Homunculus, that, or rather, if Bunnyhoppor chooses to attack into a Vulgar Homunculus, Turna has the Dread Infernal to kill this ooze. But that still leaves him with a board that I think is poor against a Volcano.
Right. Bunnyhoppor doesn't have anything great here. Life Drinker seems to be the best, just normal play, and you have to play it eventually. But the problem with Life Drinker is it sets your opponent to 17, which happens to be a very convenient Hook Reaver scenario.
Just a Volcano turn, though.
Wow. Volcano.
No Giants still for Turna. No Twilight Drakes as well, but as we mentioned, Bunnyhoppor has had that Earth Shock waiting in his hand. So a Twilight Drake is an easy kill. Tap into Coin Dread Infernal is my guess. That leaves him at 17, which means tap Hooked Reaver is available next turn as well.
Yep, that's a good setup here for Turna. And Bunnyhoppor is now overloaded, but can set up this Acolyte. Or just go ahead and put his opponent over, or under 15 rather, with Life Drinker.
This is also just a fine Hex target, not only because it's a reasonably sized threat, but also because it's a demon. So if you do end up clearing boards, it won't come back with Gul'dan.
True. And he hasn't played Mountain Giant when he's had multiple opportunities to play Mountain Giant?
It's pretty clear there's no Giant in Turna's hand. So yes, you can save this for a Giant, potentially.
Okay, I don't mind that.
Yeah, just gonna go ahead and Hex.
Yep.
Oh, maybe not.
Well, another thing to consider is that could Bunnyhoppor get greedy. So say he plays Life Drinker, his opponent somehow trades, then he can play Hagatha. But the worst case scenario is Hooked Reaver that can't get answers, so then you take damage. And then you're kind of back in the situation where it's like, should I hex like a 7-4? Like, what do I do? Plus I have 2 Acolytes, so do I run into hand size issues if I'm starting to play Hagatha and Acolytes? So, for the reasons you mentioned, I think I like hexing the demon better to prevent that big reload off of Gul'dan.
Another Spellstone, really not what Turna's looking for in this particular matchup. Ooh, Skulkengeist is nice. Skulkengeist removes the Earth Shocks from Bunnyhoppor's deck and makes your Twilight Drakes into more significant threats.
Yeah, but you're not playing Twilight Drake anytime soon, and Hooked Reaver is just more stats by a significant margin, especially if you play Sun Fury with it.
It is, but Earthshock is also good against Hooked Reaver because it eliminates 3/3 of its stats. So
Okay.
I think that getting the Skulkengeist down, if you draw another Hooked Reaver or a Twilight Drake next turn, it's fantastic because you can double play them with 8 mana.
True. Oh man, but playing Hooked Reaver means you get the life tab next turn. All right, okay, I buy it, I buy it. It just feels pretty weak for development as a 4-attack minion, so Bunnyhoppor could take his sweet time. Part of the combination for card draw is Volcano and Acolyte of Pain, but Bunnyhoppor, I think, would want to keep Volcano. It's not one of those matchups where you just throw out Volcano to simply draw.
Volcano is very important for Bunnyhoppor, especially considering he's already used the first one. So his ability to clear off a board that goes wide is pretty limited, especially considering, as we mentioned before, there's only the one Lightning Storm. So he can do some Pyromancer plus Healing Rain plus cheap spell tricks, but for a really big board, Volcano is often required.
I don't know if you're going to get much of a better Hagatha setup in general. Like, the reason why I say that is because you're not going to take too much damage on the backswing. But you might, again, run into hand space issue because you have 3 cards that draw, and 2 of them can punish you heavily.
He does have Murmuring, and Murmuring Hagatha is always actually a pretty good clear against a lot of the boards.
That's also true.
All right, well, he's going for it. Okay, Volcano plus the Acolyte here. And I think that the reason he does feel relatively comfortable with this is the fact that he has the Hagatha plus Murmuring for a big board clear. Finds a Giant. Okay, Hooked Reaver Giant is available this turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's the double setup. And he just used Volcano. That's 15 health on the board, Kibler.
Volcano, which means that not only is Bunnyhoppor overloaded, but there's gigantic threats. He does have Glacial Shard. Another Hooked Reaver drawn.
That's so big for next turn, because Turner just needs to keep throwing threats onto the board. Bunnyhoppor picks up a second Glacial Shard, though.
Well, he has Shard and Grumble, so he could potentially Shard, Grumble the Shard, leaving himself with a 7/7 versus a 7/7.
He could also get greedy, save the Glacial Shards for next turn, bounce it back, guarantee with Grumble, and then save him for another opportunity.
He could potentially have 4 activations of Glacial Shard against large minions next turn.
The greed play with drawing cards would pay off if Bunnyhoppor, well, 1, if Turner didn't have strong development, which he did, but 2, if Bunnyhoppor had very clean ways to play this turn, but it doesn't look very easy. He could just take a turn of damage, though, with Farsight and Life Trigger.
He could also just Shard here. Wow, that is a good draw.
It's an amazing draw.
This actually means this is pretty huge, because not only does this give him defense against this without necessarily even having to use the Glacial Shards, but now if Turna does choose to Hellfire to clear this off and ensure that there's no powerful Grumble, his minions are in range of that Murmuring Hagatha.
Right. That Murmuring Hagatha is something you don't see all the time, but when it does, it's really powerful. And then he still has another Serenite Chain Gang to potentially wait to bounce it back, increase his chances. And if he doesn't get cleared, then he bounces it all back.
Yep.
And quadruples his value.
Yeah, Turna absolutely has to clear this. And that will leave him with a board that is pretty vulnerable to that Hagatha.
But still got to get
Spellbreaker.
8.
Oh, he's going to Spellbreaker and go in for 8 damage, and that means that the Hagatha is definitely a clear, rather than putting the Hooked Reaver into it. All right, gets 8 though.
Right.
But this is going to get ugly. Healing Rain, that's a lot of opportunity for Bunnyhoppor to mitigate that damage later. And this is one of the problems with trying to take this aggressive line of just pushing damage rather than developing a board.
Man, I am so sad when I can't Murmuring Elemental my Grumble.
But this is a matchup where you don't really need to. Just having a bunch of big minions on the board is often enough. You can get in a position where things are awkward and you end up with just a bunch of 3s on the board. And
Survive. That's
and
the
it's
key.
like, all right, well, hellfire that.
It's true. I mean, we've also seen Hagatha end the game to solve value, and then it also comes to the case where maybe Turna loses simply because he's too low on life, and a single Shutter Walk with no Grumble will end the game.
I mean, there's the single life drinker in Bunnyhoppor's deck, but it is in his hand, and I mean, he can even just life drinker Grumble, and then okay, well, now what's going on?
Yeah, and if it works out that way, then there's a very brilliant setup here by Turna.
To be fair, he did just pick up some bubblies and yummies, and he also has 2 spell stones in hand, so it's unlikely he'll just get straight up burned out. But same thing can be said for Bunnyhoppor. Ooh,
Pyromancer, Acolyte, Healing Rain, but he does draw 2 cards in the process, so he has to be careful how many cards he actually draws.
Yeah, this is an interesting opportunity for Bunnyhoppor to dig if he chooses. He also just has the Bog Shaper, and this is one of those chances. You know, does he want to Bog Shaper Healing Rain? He goes up to nearly full. Well, that's true. He goes up to actually what is it, 32? And then gets himself another minion. He still does need to find that Shutter Walk.
Right.
And with just that much life to work with, and potentially he can Ancestral Healing it, but that does leave him open to Black Knight, which makes a lot of sense to be in Turna's hand.
Yeah, he could Ancestral Healing his opponent's minion. Just use it to draw a card.
Yeah, he doesn't have to use it on his own minion necessarily.
And I think I like that the most because you're utilizing spells to get it out of your hand, and also you're weeding out the possibility of getting Shutter Walk.
Now that this actually becomes okay, he wants to hold on to it. Yeah, he doesn't want to dig with it.
Yeah, he's going to get rewarded if Turna just sets up a big fat minion this turn, which is going to be the goal every turn for even Warlock.
Now there's Defile into Greater Spellstone into Mountain Giant. Push 11. Needs to play around some weird things now, though. The Hagatha means that there's the possibility of any Shaman spell in Bunnyhoppor's hand, and Avalanche can make positioning important, which we see actually is in the hand.
There you go. Avalanche, what, freeze the middle and
freeze one, freeze 1 and deal 3 to anything adjacent. Yeah, this could actually just be Avalanche on one of the large minions, Ancestral Healing plus Black Knight on the other. So he freezes one of the big minions, kills the Shroom Brewer, kills the other minion with Black Knight.
Yes, and I think you should use the Avalanche on the Hooked Reaver because the Black Knight goes into the pool of Battle Cries for Shutter Walk versus you won't be able to guarantee killing off the Mountain Giant. That lines up so perfectly for mana. That frees up your hand space by using 2 spells as opposed to stacking with more minions to get more spells to crowd it. This is looking really good for Bunnyhoppor with each passing turn. And Turn doesn't have Blood Reaver Gul'dan or anything else to do right now. He's played both of his Giants.
Yep, there it is. Healing plus Black Knight. Mondo combo. What year is it? Finds his
Current
staff.
year, Kibler.
All right, he's going to life drinker. Not go for the Avalanche. He's going to look to actually get some board presence here.
Yeah. He's investing into his mana, into his Battle Cry pool ahead of time. He realizes he needs to play Life Drinker, Grumble, and Shutter Walk. He's getting fairly close.
This also puts Turna in a weird position because he can't leave these on the board because of the threat of Grumble. I mean, this could easily be a big minion into Spellstone, trade, push 7.
Yeah.
He's going to use Gen rather than the Twilight Drake. Does push more damage. Is he actually... Okay. Oh, he's just pushing. Okay, against the Life Drinker, that's not as scary.
Right. Black Knight is a much bigger swing on the board. We've seen that happen in the previous series with Nalgidon getting wrecked just by tempo Black Knights with Grumble.
Yeah, and thinking about this, I definitely like this. He doesn't really care that much about the damage from the Life Drinker. Getting this bounced is not a huge deal. If Shutterwalk's there, and the game's probably going to end very soon either way. So whether there's an additional Life Drinker trigger doesn't matter that much, and he'd rather just get the damage in.
Bunnyhoppor has a lot of spells to clear this, and a Hex picked up as well. That can shut down not only the Hooked Reaver, but also potential Demon Revive.
Well, if he plays Avalanche, into cryostasis on his Wild Pyromancer that actually just kills pretty much. He could even zap. That just kills everything.
Yeah, and I like that because it doesn't overload his mana. That's
Right.
kind of the big downside of Lightning Storm and Zap right now.
Yeah, he can just cryostasis, which will kill, again, leave just a frozen Shroom Brewer. If he wants to, he could zap right now, but doesn't need to.
Right. But things like Defile and whatnot get a lot worse. Turna, where is your Death Knight?
He does have the Spellbreaker. He can silence and potentially trade if he chooses, or push 4 damage. Probably not going to push 4 at this point. Doesn't do very much.
I wonder.
Maybe. I mean, if I can get as close as I can to killing my opponent and then having a Hellfire or
it's true.
a Life Bite get me there. Spellbreaker is not going to do very much.
The minion is Wild Pyromancer, which is going to kill both your minions here most likely, if not worse.
So many possibilities.
We may see Twilight Drake into Spellbreaker into Beetle. Would be a likely combination for 10 mana this turn.
I would also kind of like Life Tap because I want to get closer to Blade for Gold Hand. So
he only has 4 cards left.
True.
And I feel like Gul'dan is maybe too slow at this point tapping into it. He may just need to get as much presence to the board as he can right now. This is a lot.
Okay, and in his defense, Bunnyhoppor does have a lot of
Healing Rain number 2. Has Bunnyhopper's only played a single Serenite, is that correct? So he's actually at a 50-50 on a Shudderwalk.
Unless Grumble's left on the board.
Right.
Dimly lit.
This is getting down to the final cards in the player's deck. The final cards that stand between them and the World Championship.
People in the crowd, man, they're just like whispering about this game, like what they do in this situation. Because thing is, if you play Wild Pyromancer and like Acolyte, you have to worry about what cards you're going to draw and react off of it. Then your mana is very limited.
From Bunny's perspective, he needs to find the other Serenite to have better than a 50% shot of just being able to Shudderwalk.
He can just stall though. Hex, Healing Rain is good enough.
All right, he's grumbling it. Grumble finds another Lightning Storm. Gonna Hex.
He's investing into a Shudderwalk. He's starting to get scared of the threat of potentially dying if this Healing Rain isn't enough. Because Healing Rain's great to stall, but if Turna keeps developing with the Lich King,
well, if Turna does not kill this Grumble, there is the 100% Shudderwalk available.
That's also true.
And if he does kill it, he just loses so much of his pressure. He again does not draw Gul'dan.
Is his last card's what? Gul'dan, the Lich King?
Yeah. He has 2 of his heaviest hitters in the bottom 3 cards of his deck.
I wonder.
He can't, if he life taps, he can't play Lich King and Defile, which would potentially let him clear off the Grumble and develop something large. This is a very tough spot for Turna. He's got to get rid of the Grumble. He realizes, okay, the Murmuring is gone. There is the possibility.
Maximum pressure. 6 damage on board, but still no real threat. And Bunnyhoppor has bought himself another couple turns here. That is
That's
not
Hex.
Shudderwalk.
That's a great potential answer to the Lich King. But still, Bunnyhoppor, no Shudderwalk, no second Serenite Chain Gang. Even if he finds the Shudderwalk, his victory is not guaranteed.
A path dimly lit.
We have seen Bunnyhoppor in this pose many times already this week, deep in thought.
It's tough because Bunnyhoppor could simply go for the draw and stall, but he could be getting himself in a reckless situation where he needs to Shudderwalk to survive, and we've seen that go wrong. And then Bunnyhoppor threw a game where he looks like he's in a really good spot, and Turna at the same time, 2 of his best 3 cards in his deck are on the bottom 3. Gotta feel for the guy.
Bunnyhoppor has Lightning Storms to clear up a board that could be brought back by the Gul'dan. He still has Pyromancer to help things out. Hex is going to take out the Black Knight.
That means he is...
Lich King is scot-free.
Yeah, he is going to be burned by the Lich King.
Gul'dan is here, and it will come down. I was going to say immediately. It looked like it was coming, but...
I mean...
There it is. Blood Reaver Gul'dan going to get work done for Turna here, but is it too late?
Double Lightning Storm is available for Bunnyhoppor. He's held to the Pyromancer because of that scenario. Mantide Totem's not going to do anything. Pyromancer is a guaranteed clear. In fact, he might have to only use one.
Lightning Storm for Bunnyhoppor.
It's not what he wants to see.
He is a man who is very hard to kill with minions. I'll tell you that much.
So much blue lightning, but none of it goes Phase Kibler.
Wants to use the Lightning Storm from his deck. Does not want Turna to have extra information. You can tell the gold cards are from the Hagatha.
Bunnyhoppor would prefer to do this in one fell swoop. 3s across the board.
That is nearly a clear.
Wow.
Just the Vulgar Homunculus survives.
Now Bunnyhoppor doesn't have to do anything else. He can just sit on this, but he's on 8 mana, which means even if he draws Shudderwock, he's still playlist next turn.
And Turna, if he draws Lich King, and Bunnyhoppor does not draw Shudderwock, he has a shot at Death Grip to lock things down. And yeah, Bunnyhoppor wants to make sure he is gonna get a card from this.
There's
the Shudderwock.
I like this because he overloads preemptively.
Board is clear. There's Lich King. But is it enough? Shudderwock is in hand for Bunnyhoppor.
Yeah. This was so smart from Bunnyhoppor too. He knows Lich King still hasn't been played. He's denying the Death Grip guarantee.
But Shudderwock gives him Black Knight, but not yet. That is his last card, Serenite Chain Gang. Spirit Echo.
I'm out of cards.
And Turna knows what comes next. What's his best setup for a Shudderwock? Just a straight up Shudderwock with no Murmuring Elemental beforehand.
Bunnyhoppor's in fatigue.
That's right.
Turna is in a position, if he Hellfires and connect, Hellfire Anti-Magic Shell connect. He does 13, 14, 15, 16. Bunnyhoppor Shudderwocks. He gets 1 trigger of Life Drinker. Will he be able to actually just win the game with the hero power?
It might get to that point.
I think the math might work out that way. He does 10, 13 this turn. That puts Bunnyhoppor to set. No, it does 16 this turn.
Shudderwock heals as well, though.
Right, but only for 3. There's only 1 Life Drinker. I think this may work out with fatigue for Turna. He pushes. Goes down to 4. 1 damage from fatigue.
Death and Decay!
Shudderwock comes down.
He needs it to bounce.
Life Drinker comes.
The
gonna get the bounce. The second copy of Shudderwock here is doubled by Murmuring Elemental.
That's right. And now he's going to get to 9.
It's 12, I think. Two Life Drinkers, right?
Right.
I think Turna, despite all of this,
unless there's
nearly
fatigue.
lethal damage. There's two fatigue. He has 8 right now.
Maybe the burst will outmatch the heal, but there's 2 Shudderwocks in hand.
So close, but Bunnyhoppor in fatigue takes game 5 and advances to the World Championship.
What a game, what a series. Bunnyhoppor from Germany earns a ticket to the semifinals, and he'll be joining us for the World Championships for the Year of the Raven.
And he will be joining Viper, his practice partner, playing the exact same 120 cards, and he will meet him in the semifinals.
That's right, and I guess he gets to play the spoiler for the Viper Turna match that people were looking for. Hats off to Turna. Very fun series. Great run so far in 2018. I have a feeling we're going to see more of him later this year.
Absolutely. He has been on a tear, but it is Bunnyhoppor who is the victor today.
That's right. Man, what a fun back and forth, starting off with the odd Paladin versus Big Spell Mage. Bunnyhoppor series usually don't disappoint in the drama, and I think that one delivered again.
Yeah, that was epic. You know, we've seen a lot of grueling matches that Bunnyhoppor has played in throughout the course of this event so far, but from my perspective, that one takes the cake.
Yeah, that was really fun to watch. And there are your 4 semi-finalists, A8, 3650, Killing All Day, Viper, and Bunnyhoppor. 3 Europeans ended up making it through anyways, Kibler.
Yeah, we saw similar dominance from the Europe region back in spring of last year, and you know, we'll see if this year turns out to be similarly, or if it will be the year of Killing All Day.
All right, well, let's head over to Cora, who's waiting with our winner. It's Bunnyhoppor.
What an incredibly grueling series that was, all the way down to fatigue in Game 5, but Bunnyhoppor point back in 2016, but now you actually get to go to Worlds. How are you feeling?
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. It feels amazing. Last time I had a lot of things where I was thinking about, could have done differently, and that's why it feels even better to make it now.
Redemption, vindication for all of the work that you've put in over the last 3 years. I mean, that is such an incredible investment into finally making your dreams come true. But you gotta tell me, what's going through your head? Game 5, you're desperately looking for that Shutterwalk. Your opponent hasn't played Gul'dan just yet, but you know that everything is absolutely on the line. How are you managing to stay calm in that moment?
Well, I knew that I could basically run him out of threats because I hexed his 6/6 that gets spawned back with Gul'dan. So I can basically just, you know, Pyromancer, Lightning Storm, and spell, and he doesn't have a board. So he has to kill me the hero power, and then some weird stuff from Lich King is like the only thing that can wreck me. And I'm just thinking, I want to get my outs better. I want to get my chain gang. And if he doesn't have Lich King, I can even, you know, play it twice or whatever. And then Shadow Animation goes off, and you're like, this is a 2-3 for me to win this, but this is still a 1-3 for me to lose this. And you're just sitting there, and the first chain gang goes off, and I'm like, yes, thank you.
I mean, he had Death and Decay in hand. If that Grumble didn't activate, you were dead. So it absolutely needed to be done, but sometimes you just got to put it all out there. And that's what you did this weekend, man. You are the only undefeated match score player in the tournament, making it to the semifinals, going to the World Championships. And you're going to be playing against your practice partner, Viper, actually in the semifinals, fighting for that final spot. Same 120 cards in both of your lineups. Are you looking forward to that? Or, I don't know, are you really competitive with him? Or do you just kind of, at this point, you're just happy to be here?
I'm just super happy I made top 4, and if I lose next round to Viper, I'll be fine with it. The happiest I'll be about a loss in a while. But of course, I'm trying to win this, and yeah, we're just looking forward to some good games, some good mirror matches.
Yeah, I mean, between friends, it's a good rivalry, but ultimately the lineup that you guys brought worked so incredibly well. Same 120 cards for you and Viper. You're both through to the semifinals. Is there anything that, looking back, you would like to change? Anything that you wish had performed better? Or is it pretty much just all by the book?
I would like to change a few cards in my decks, looking back at how they've performed in my practice matches. One card I would love to throw out is Ancestral Healing. It worked out perfectly twice on the stage. Just can tell the audience it doesn't usually work like this.
You don't usually get to Ancestral Healing in Black Knight, a Mountain Giant, but hey, sometimes you do, and when it does, it's pretty darn cool. But congratulations, you are going to the World Championships. Everybody, let's give it up for our final qualifier. It is Bunnyhoppor. 3 representatives from Europe are moving on to the World Championships, but we are not done for today. We do still have to crown a champion. So let's go ahead and throw it back over the desk and figure out our semifinals.